The gun was 3 inches from her head when she whispered the two words that saved his life. Don't drink. Rachel Morrison, 26 years old. Waitress at Belafonte, the finest Italian restaurant in Manhattan. 3 jobs. Grandmother's unpaid hospital bills stacking up like accusations. Rent due in 5 days. Savings account showing $3,247 after 18 months of 70-hour weeks. The man she just saved, Dante Moretti, the most powerful crime lord in New York City, a man whose whispered word could make you disappear before sunrise. Now she was marked. The poisoner knew her face, knew she had interfered. And in Dante Moretti's world, witnesses didn't survive to see morning. But there was one thing the poisoner didn't know. Rachel Morrison noticed everything, and she had just seen something that would change everything. This is the story of how she became indispensable. November rain hammered Manhattan's Upper East Side, turning streets into rivers of reflected neon. Inside Belafonte on East 74th Street, warmth and elegance stood in defiance of the storm. Vintage chandeliers cast golden light across white tablecloths and crystal stemware. Piano music drifted from somewhere unseen, wrapping the dining room in sophisticated intimacy. Rachel pushed through the kitchen doors, balancing an appetizer tray with practiced ease. 6 hours on her feet already. 4 more until her shift ended. The leather of her sensible black shoes had molded to her feet months ago, but they still ached with each step. She didn't let it show on her face. At Belafonte, customers paid for invisibility. Rachel had perfected the art. 3 years of high-end service had taught her to move like a shadow, present but unobtrusive, attentive but unnoticed. She read every table before approaching. The businessman at table 12 touched his wedding ring while studying the menu. Having an affair. Would order expensive wine to impress. Would tip poorly. The couple at table 7 sat close, hands touching. First date. They would share dishes. 25% tip minimum. The woman at table 3 checked her phone every 30 seconds, waiting for important news. Needed quiet. Rachel would not interrupt unless called. Survival skills honed over 3 years of poverty and pride. Her grandmother had taught her well. People with money want to be invisible. People without money can't afford to be seen. But you, Rachel, you watch both, learn from both. Grandmother had been right. As always, Miguel the busboy worked the same shift. 19 years old, 2 jobs, sent money home to Mexico for his mother and younger sister. Every night, Rachel gave Miguel half her tips. Miguel, no. This is your money. Your mother needs it more. My grandmother has Medicare. Take it. Miguel never asked why Rachel worked 3 jobs if she could afford such generosity. Rachel never mentioned she saw herself in him. The struggle that never ended. The work no one noticed. Some things you gave silently or not at all. Julian Torres, the manager, emerged from the kitchen. His face carried unusual gravity. Rachel, table 1 tonight. She went still. Table 1 meant the private dining room and back, reserved for special guests, the kind who valued discretion above everything. Me, impeccable service. Absolute discretion. Julian's voice dropped low. Understand? She understood. In 3 years at Belafonte, she had seen table 1 used only once. Men in expensive suits, no smiles, whispered conversations. Julian had closed the door, left them alone for 4 hours. Afterward, he gave each server a $100 bill. Bonus, don't ask questions. Nobody had asked. I'm ready. Rachel's voice came out steady. Inside, her hands wanted to shake. But she needed this money, needed this job. And Rachel Morrison didn't step back when afraid. She stepped forward. Dante Moretti entered Belafonte at 8:47 p.m. No announcement needed. The restaurant simply stopped. Rachel was pouring wine at table 9 when she felt it. The shift in air pressure, like the drop before a storm. She looked up. He was tall, 6'2", maybe more. Charcoal suit tailored to perfection across broad shoulders, hands loose at his sides, not in pockets. Always ready. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from Renaissance marble. Sharp jawline. And his eyes. His eyes made Rachel's breath catch. Dark. Unreadable. They swept the room in one comprehensive glance. Entrance. Windows. Kitchen. Emergency exits. Cataloging everything in 3 seconds flat. This was a man who had seen death. had delivered death, was unbothered by either. Julian Torres materialized like magic. A slight bow of his head. "Mr. Moretti, your room is ready." Rachel's throat went dry. Moretti, she knew the name. Everyone in Manhattan knew the name. Dante Moretti didn't move immediately. He stood, observed. His gaze swept across the restaurant, paused on each server, assessed, dismissed, moved on, then stopped on Rachel. 3 seconds, maybe 4. She held the wine tray frozen, feeling like a pinned butterfly, unable to move, shouldn't move. His eyes held no expression, no hostility, no curiosity, just measurement. Then he turned, following Julian to the private room. Rachel exhaled, hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath. Beside her, Miguel wiped glasses with shaking hands. "That's him." "Who, Moretti?" Miguel's voice barely audible. "My brother works for someone who knows him. Says he controls everything from Hell's Kitchen to the Upper East Side. Real estate, construction, restaurants, and things we don't name." "Mafia," Rachel whispered. "We don't use that word." Miguel glanced around nervously. "He's a businessman. That's all we know." Rachel nodded, understanding the unspoken rules, but her heart still raced. Because Julian had said she would serve table 1 tonight. She would be in that room, with Dante Moretti. And whatever happened there, she would never speak of it to anyone. Some secrets you carried to the grave. The private dining room was smaller than the main floor. Intimate, deep burgundy walls absorbed the light from a single chandelier, creating pockets of shadow in the corners. The mahogany table could seat 12 but was set for 5. Windows overlooked the rain-soaked street, but heavy curtains could be drawn for complete privacy. Dante sat at the head of the table. Back to the wall, view of both the entrance and the windows. Rachel entered with a tray of water and wine lists. "Good evening, gentlemen. May I offer you water or wine while you wait?" He raised one hand. She stopped. "Water. No wine yet." His voice was smooth, deep, each word deliberate. "Of course, sir." She poured, hands steady despite every instinct screaming to run. As she placed the glass before him, Dante spoke without looking up. "Your name, Rachel Morrison, sir. How long have you worked here? 3 years. Are you good?" Now he looked up, eyes locking with hers. "I'm still here, sir." Something almost like a smile touched his mouth. "Observant. Good. You may go." Rachel left, but felt his gaze follow her. Cataloging, assessing, filing away. Dante Moretti missed nothing, and she wasn't sure if that was terrifying or reassuring. 3 other men arrived over the next 20 minutes, all in expensive suits, all moving with the careful confidence of men accustomed to power. They greeted Dante with respect that bordered on reverence. The last guest arrived late, Garrett Stone, 35 years old, polished appearance of old money. He shook Dante's hand warmly, almost fraternally, apologizing about traffic on the FDR. "Sorry I'm late. The rain has traffic completely backed up." "No concern." Dante's voice remained smooth. "We were just discussing quarterly reports." Rachel returned to her station near the door, ready to respond to any request but otherwise unobtrusive. But something nagged at her attention. The way Garrett checked his watch, the 3rd time in 10 minutes. The way his shoulders carried tension despite his casual demeanor. Rachel noticed, always noticed. The dinner proceeded with careful choreography. Antipasti, burrata with prosciutto and crostini. Delicate pasta course cacio e pepe like silk on the tongue. Main dishes of ossobuco and branzino prepared to perfection. Dante ordered Barolo Vintage 2015. Rachel poured, deep red in crystal glasses. Conversation flowed in low-coded exchanges. Shipment from Newark delayed. Weather, Thompson cooperation, ongoing negotiations. Downtown property. Escrow closes Thursday. Rachel moved like a shadow, refilling water, clearing plates, not hearing, not seeing, invisible, but observing. Garrett Stone was nervous. Checked his phone 3 times in 10 minutes. Drank wine faster than the others, already on his 2nd glass. Dante noticed everything. Said nothing. Just watched. Like she did. 45 minutes into the meal it happened. Rachel was refilling water glasses, moving counterclockwise around the table. As she reached Dante, Garrett stretched across the table. Garrett the salt, Victor Kane, the man to Dante's left. Right. Thanks. Garrett's hand moved, not toward the salt, over Dante's wine glass. Just 1 second, maybe two. His palm concealed something small, a vial, clear, pill-sized, a slight tilt. Liquid dropped into the deep red wine, invisible, the Barolo too dark. Garrett's other hand pointed at a document on the table. Victor line 12. See Victor bent closer, distracted. Dante was on his phone, reading a text. No one was watching, except Rachel. The entire action took 3 seconds. Rachel's heart stopped. Time slowed. Mind raced. Had she really seen that could be mistaken? Medicine? Vitamins? Medical necessity? But the stealth of the gesture, the distraction carefully timed, the eyes darting to check for observers. No, she knew what she saw. Poison. Garrett Stone had just poisoned Dante Moretti's wine, and Dante would drink it in maybe 30 seconds. Options. Call for help. No. Not enough time. Where was security outside? How far tell Dante in front of everyone? No. Garrett would know she saw. She would become a target. If he was armed, if he had backup, walk away. Pretend she saw nothing. Yes. Safe. Smart. Survive. An image of her grandmother flashed through her mind. Courage isn't fearlessness, Rachel. It's doing what's right when you're terrified. Dante's hand moved toward the wine glass. 20 seconds. Decision made. Rachel's body moved before her mind caught up. She stepped around the table. Excuse me, sir. Let me refill your water. Her elbow caught the water glass. Perfect trajectory. The glass tipped. Ice water cascaded across Dante Moretti's lap. Oh! Rachel gasped. Genuine shock despite the deliberate action. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so terribly sorry. Dante stood. Ice cubes clattered to the floor. His suit was soaked. Victor laughed, a booming sound. Occupational hazard, my friend. But Dante wasn't laughing. His eyes fixed on Rachel with an intensity that made her breath catch. Not angry, surprised. And something else. Understanding. It's fine. His voice carried an edge that silenced Victor's laughter. Accidents happen. Towels. Rachel was already moving. I'll get towels, and fresh water, and wine. I'll replace your wine immediately. She practically ran to the kitchen. Inside, her hands finally shook. Julian appeared at her elbow. What happened? I spilled water on Mr. Moretti. Rachel, Julian's eyes went wide. On Moretti, it was an accident. I'll handle it. She grabbed linen napkins, a fresh place setting, and critically a fresh wine glass, returned. Dante had reseated himself, expression unreadable. Again, my deepest apologies. Rachel laid out fresh linens. Let me get you a new glass of wine. Her hand reached for the contaminated glass. Dante's hand moved, fast as a striking snake, caught her wrist. Not painful, but firm enough to stop the motion. Rachel froze, heart hammering against her ribs. Leave it, Dante said softly. Eyes locked on hers, not a request, a command. Rachel nodded, stepped back, watched as Dante nudged the wine glass slightly aside, out of easy reach. Then he turned his attention back to the table, back to business, as if nothing had happened. But something had happened. Rachel knew it, and from the sudden tension in Garrett Stone's shoulders, he knew it too. The dinner continued for another 20 minutes. Rachel served dessert, tiramisu and panna cotta, moving on autopilot while her pulse raced. The conversation at the table had shifted, become more stilted. Garrett had grown quieter, his earlier ease replaced with something that looked like calculation. When Garrett excused himself to use the restroom, Rachel was clearing dessert plates. She couldn't help noticing how Dante's eyes followed him, dark and thoughtful. 5 minutes later, commotion erupted from the men's room. Julian appeared first, face pale. 2 other servers followed. Garrett emerged supported between them. His face was ashen, sheened with sweat. He looked ready to collapse. I'm fine. Garrett's voice was weak despite his protests. Just felt suddenly dizzy. Must be coming down with something. Victor jumped to his feet. You look terrible, Garrett. We should call a doctor. No, Garrett protested, though his voice trembled. I just need to get home. Probably just a stomach bug. Sorry to cut the evening short. Dante stood slowly, his expression impossible to read. Of course, feel better, Garrett. The words were perfectly cordial. But Rachel, watching from her position near the wall, saw the way Dante's eyes tracked Garrett's exit, saw the subtle glance he cast toward the wineglass still sitting where he had pushed it aside, saw the moment of calculation that flickered across his features. He knew. The realization sent ice through Rachel's veins. Somehow Dante Moretti had understood exactly what had happened. The spilled water hadn't been an accident, not in his mind. He had seen her deliberate clumsiness for what it was, intervention, and now he was looking at her. Their eyes met across the dining room. 3 heartbeats. Neither looked away. In that gaze, Rachel saw intelligence, curiosity, and something that might have been respect or might have been danger. She couldn't tell which. Then Dante turned back to his remaining guests and the moment broke. The dinner concluded 20 minutes later. The remaining men settled their bill, a generous payment that included a tip so substantial Julian would certainly notice. They gathered their coats, made their farewells, disappeared into the rainy Manhattan night. But Dante Moretti lingered. Rachel was clearing the private dining room, stacking plates with practiced efficiency when she sensed his presence in the doorway. She didn't turn around immediately, finished the task at hand before acknowledging him. "Can I get you anything else, sir?" Dante didn't answer immediately. He stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, studying her with that same intense focus. That was quite a spill. His voice was neutral. "Yes, sir. Again, my apologies. Interesting timing." Rachel's hands stilled on the stack of plates. Her mind raced through possible responses, weighing options. Denial seemed pointless. This man saw too much. Sometimes accidents happen at opportune moments. The words slipped out carefully. The corner of Dante's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. Indeed, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a money clip, extracted several bills. Hundreds. More money than Rachel made in a week. He laid them on the table. For the inconvenience. And the dry cleaning. Rachel looked at the money, then back at him. Pride warred with practicality. Her grandmother needed medications. Rent was due in 5 days. But accepting this money felt like stepping across a line she couldn't uncross. "That's not necessary," she said quietly. "I insist, sir, I really cannot accept this." "Dante," he interrupted gently. "My name is Dante." The use of his first name felt strangely intimate in the formal setting. "I can't accept this, Mr. Moretti." He studied her for a long moment. Rachel had the unsettling feeling of being catalogued, assessed, filed away in that sharp mind. "You're an interesting woman, Rachel Morrison," he said. Her blood went cold. He knew her name. Of course he did. The reservation would have included server assignments. But hearing it from his lips made it real, made her visible in a way that terrified her. "I'm just a waitress," she said. "No," Dante shook his head slowly. "You're much more than that." He left the money on the table and turned to leave. At the doorway he paused, glancing back. "Be careful, Rachel. Some things once seen can't be unseen. And some people don't forget kindness." Then he was gone, disappearing into the main dining room, leaving Rachel alone with racing thoughts and more questions than answers. She stared at the money on the table for a full minute before pocketing it. Practicality won. It always did. But as she finished clearing the room, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted in her life, that the careful invisibility she had cultivated for years had been shattered by one impulsive decision, that Dante Moretti's dark, knowing eyes would haunt her dreams. She gathered the final items from the table, including the wineglass that Dante had pushed aside, the one that had never touched his lips. Rachel held it up to the light, seeing the faint residue of red wine coating the crystal. What had Garrett Stone put in this glass? And why? More importantly, what would happen now that his plan had failed? The questions followed Rachel through the rest of her shift, through her subway ride home to Queens, through the quiet moment when she checked on her sleeping grandmother and pressed a kiss to her forehead. They lingered as she counted her tips in the dim kitchen light, adding Dante's generous payment to her carefully hoarded savings. $3,658 now. Closer. Still not close enough. Outside, the rain had finally stopped. The November night was cold and clear, stars barely visible through the light pollution of the city that never slept. Rachel stood at her apartment window, looking out at the glittering skyline of Manhattan in the distance. Somewhere out there, Dante Moretti was probably asking questions. investigating, trying to understand why his associate had attempted whatever he had attempted. And at the center of that investigation, whether she wanted to be or not, was a single waitress from Queens who had made one split-second decision to intervene. Rachel pressed her hand against the cold glass, her reflection ghostly in the window. "What have I done?" she whispered to the empty room. The city offered no answers, only the distant sound of sirens and the eternal hum of millions of lives intersecting, diverging, colliding in ways both profound and mundane. Rachel Morrison had spent 3 years being invisible. Tonight she had been seen, and nothing would ever be the same. Her phone rang, 3:47 in the morning. Unknown number. Rachel stared at the screen in the darkness. Every instinct screamed not to answer, but something made her pick up. Curiosity, maybe. Fear, maybe. Destiny, maybe. Hello, silence on the other end. Then heavy breathing. Labored. You shouldn't have interfered. A male voice. Distorted. Digitally altered. Who is this? You saw something you shouldn't have. That makes you a problem. Click. The line went dead. Rachel sat in the darkness, phone in her shaking hand, heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. They knew. Whoever had worked with Garrett Stone. They knew she had stopped it, and they were coming. She moved to the window, killed the lights, peeked through the curtain. Headlights flooded the street below. A black SUV pulled up outside her building, engine idling, tinted windows reflecting the streetlights. No one got out, just waiting, watching. Rachel's hand found her phone again, scrolled through recent calls, found the number she needed. It rang once. Rachel, just her name. But the way Dante said it told her he had been expecting her call, like he had been waiting. They know. Her voice barely steady. They called. There's a car outside my building. Lock your door. Don't open it for anyone. His voice was calm but absolute. I'm sending people. 20 minutes. Dante, I can't just leave my grandmother here alone. Then pack a bag for both of you. Enough for 3 days. I have work tomorrow. She has a doctor's appointment on Thursday. Rachel, his voice cut through her protests. You can reschedule appointments. You can call in sick. You cannot come back from being dead. Pack, now. The line went dead. Rachel stood frozen for 3 seconds. Then training kicked in. The same survival instinct that had carried her through 3 years of poverty and pride. She moved through the apartment quickly, pulling clothes from drawers, her grandmother's medications from the bathroom cabinet, important documents from the desk drawer. In her grandmother's room, she gently shook the old woman awake. Grandma, we need to go. Rachel. What time is it? Late, early. We need to leave. Why, what's wrong? Rachel looked into her grandmother's eyes. The woman who had raised her, who had worked herself to exhaustion so Rachel could have food and shelter and hope. I did something tonight. Something right. But it put us in danger. And I need you to trust me. Her grandmother studied her face for a long moment, then nodded. I'll get dressed. 10 minutes later, they stood in the apartment hallway with 2 hastily packed bags. Rachel locked the door, maybe for the last time. The thought made her chest tight. Outside, the black SUV still waited, but now a second vehicle had arrived, also black, also with tinted windows. As Rachel and her grandmother descended the stairs, the passenger door of the second SUV opened. A man stepped out, tall, professional bearing, the unmistakable posture of someone trained in security. Miss Morrison, he showed identification. Marcus Chen, Mr. Moretti sent me. Rachel's grandmother clutched her arm. Rachel, who are these people? It's okay, Grandma. They're here to help. Marcus took their bags, helped Rachel's grandmother into the back seat. Rachel climbed in after her. The door closed, engine started. They pulled away from the curb. Rachel looked back through the rear window. The first SUV, the one that had been watching, pulled out after them, followed for 2 blocks. Then Marcus made a sudden turn, another, threading through side streets with practiced ease. The pursuing vehicle fell back, lost them in the maze of Queens at 4 in the morning. Where are we going? Rachel's grandmother asked. Somewhere safe. Rachel took her hand, squeezed gently. I promise. Her grandmother looked at her with eyes that had seen too much hardship, too much loss, but also eyes that held fierce love. I trust you, child. Rachel felt tears prick her eyes, blinked them back. No time for tears, not yet. The city gave way to suburbs, then to tree-lined streets with larger homes set back from the road. Marcus turned into a gated driveway, punched in a code, drove up to a beautiful colonial-style house with white shutters and a wraparound porch. Dawn was just breaking, first light touching the eastern sky. Dante Moretti stood on the porch, coffee cup in hand, watching their arrival. As Rachel helped her grandmother out of the car as the morning sun broke over the trees, she had the strangest sense of crossing a threshold she could never uncross. Her old life, the cramped apartment, the three ways, the careful invisibility, was receding behind her like a shoreline disappearing in fog. Ahead lay uncertainty, danger, questions without answers. But also, strangely, the first glimmer of hope she had felt in years. Dante descended the porch steps. His eyes met hers over her grandmother's head. "Welcome," he said quietly. "You're safe here, both of you." And despite everything, despite the fear and the confusion and the impossible situation, Rachel believed him. The safe house smelled like coffee and old books. Rachel stood in the entrance hall, grandmother's hand in hers, taking in hardwood floors that gleamed beneath morning light, comfortable furniture that looked lived in rather than staged, large windows overlooking a backyard where mature trees created a canopy of red and gold autumn leaves. This wasn't what she had expected. No armed guards visible, no cameras she could see, just a house, beautiful and ordinary, except for the man who owned it. Dante moved past them into the kitchen, poured 2 more cups of coffee without asking. "Black. Set them on the counter. You'll want to sit. Long night." Rachel's grandmother lowered herself into a chair at the kitchen table. 72 years old, lungs damaged from 30 years working in a chemical plant, hands that trembled slightly from arthritis, but spine straight, eyes sharp. Young man. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had raised a child alone through poverty and pride. "I appreciate the hospitality, but my granddaughter needs to tell me what's happening now." Dante glanced at Rachel, a question in his eyes. "How much everything?" Rachel pulled out a chair beside her grandmother. "She deserves to know everything." So Rachel told her about the dinner, the poisoning, the spilled water, the phone call at 3:47 in the morning, the SUV outside their building. Her grandmother listened without interrupting. When Rachel finished, silence filled the kitchen for 10 long seconds. Then her grandmother turned to Dante. "You're the man she saved." "Yes, ma'am, and now she's in danger because of it." "Yes, ma'am. What do you intend to do about it?" Dante met her gaze directly. No flinching, no deflection. "Find who's behind this. Eliminate the threat. Keep your granddaughter alive while I do it." "How long will that take?" "Days. Maybe weeks. Depends how deep this goes. And what happens to Rachel when it's over? She goes back to her life, if she wants to." Her grandmother studied him for a long moment. Rachel recognized that look. The one that had seen through every lie, every half-truth, every evasion of Rachel's teenage years. Finally, her grandmother nodded. "All right then. But understand something, Mr. Moretti. That girl is all I have in this world. She's worked herself to exhaustion taking care of me. 3. Never complains, never asks for help. You keep her safe, or I promise you'll answer to me." The corner of Dante's mouth twitched. Almost a smile. "Understood, ma'am. And for what it's worth, your granddaughter is remarkable. What she did last night took courage most people don't have." Rachel felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Dante turned to her, his expression serious. "Most people would have looked away, pretended they saw nothing, chosen safety over risk. You chose differently. That's rare." Before Rachel could respond, footsteps sounded on the stairs. A woman appeared, early 40s, elegant, dark hair pulled back, wearing tailored slacks and a silk blouse despite the early hour. Her eyes swept over Rachel and her grandmother with quick assessment. "This is Olivia." Dante gestured to the woman. "She runs my administrative operations." "I keep him alive," Olivia corrected. Her voice was crisp, professional. She moved to the coffee pot, poured herself a cup. To Rachel and her grandmother. "You look exhausted. There are 3 bedrooms upstairs. Take the master. It has an attached bathroom. Get some rest. I need to call my jobs." Rachel pulled out her phone. Explain why I won't be in. Already handled. Olivia didn't look up from her coffee. I called all three this morning, told them you had a family emergency. Your grandmother's health would be out several days. They all understood. Rachel's temper flared. You had no right. I had every right. Olivia's tone didn't change. You saved Dante's life. That makes you family now. And we protect family. The word hung in the air. Family. Rachel had no family except her grandmother, no friends who weren't co-workers, no one who would drop everything to help her. And now this stranger was calling her family? Her grandmother squeezed her hand. Let it go, child. Pick your battles. Rachel swallowed her protest, nodded. Olivia set down her coffee cup. There are clothes in the closet that should fit, different sizes. Help yourself, food in the kitchen. Dante has business to attend to, but I'll be here. If you need anything, ask. She left without waiting for a response. Rachel looked at Dante. What happens now? Now I find out who tried to kill me. And why? His voice was calm. Matter of fact, like discussing the weather. You should rest. When you wake up, we'll talk about what you saw. Every detail matters. He moved toward the door. Paused. Rachel. One more thing. Yes, thank you. For last night, for trusting your instincts. Most people don't. Then he was gone. Rachel sat in the kitchen with her grandmother. Morning light streaming through windows. Coffee cooling in cups neither had touched. What have I gotten us into? Rachel whispered. Her grandmother patted her hand. The right thing. That's what you got us into. Now come on, let's see these bedrooms, she mentioned. The master bedroom was larger than Rachel's entire apartment. King-size bed, sitting area by the window, bathroom with a soaking tub, closet full of clothes in various sizes, tags still attached. Rachel helped her grandmother settle in, made sure she took her morning medications, watched her fall asleep within minutes, exhausted from the early morning chaos. Then Rachel stood at the window, looking out at the trees, the manicured lawn, the fence that surrounded the property. High enough for privacy, not high enough to be prison. She should sleep. Her body ached with exhaustion, but her mind raced. Garrett Stone had tried to poison Dante Moretti. Why? Who was behind it? And what would they do now that it had failed? More importantly, what would they do to her? Rachel pulled out her phone, scrolled through contacts, paused on Miguel's name. She should check in, make sure he was okay, make sure the restaurant was okay. But what would she say? I witnessed an attempted murder, and now I'm hiding in a mafia boss's safe house. She put the phone away. Some things couldn't be explained over text. A soft knock on the door. Olivia entered without waiting for invitation. Can't sleep, too much on my mind. Understandable. Olivia moved to the window, stood beside Rachel, looking out at the same view. I know what you're thinking. You're wondering if you made the right choice, if you should have stayed silent. Let nature take its course. Rachel said nothing, but Olivia was right. Let me tell you something about Dante Moretti. Olivia's voice softened slightly. He inherited this life. Didn't choose it. His father built an empire, part legitimate, part not. When his father died 2 years ago, Dante took over. But he's been trying to change things. Phase out the illegal operations. Make everything clean. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you saved. Dante's not like his father. He doesn't want this life. But he's trapped by loyalty, by obligation, by people who depend on him. Rachel turned to face her. People like Garrett Stone. Olivia's expression hardened. Garrett betrayed that loyalty, betrayed trust built over 5 years. That's unforgivable. What will happen to him? That depends. If he runs, disappears, maybe nothing. If he stays, tries again, Olivia shrugged. Then he'll face consequences. You mean he'll be killed? I mean he'll face consequences. Olivia met her gaze directly. This isn't your world, Rachel. You don't need to understand all of it. Just know that Dante will protect you, no matter what it costs him. Why, I'm nobody. A waitress who happened to see something. You're the woman who saved his life. That makes you important, more than you realize. Olivia left before Rachel could ask what she meant. Rachel finally slept, fitful dreams of wine glasses and poison and dark eyes watching her. When she woke, afternoon sun slanted through the windows. Her grandmother still slept peacefully. Rachel showered, found clothes that fit, jeans and a soft sweater, made her way downstairs. The house was quiet. She found the kitchen, made herself coffee, stood at the counter trying to orient herself in this strange new reality. "You're up," Rachel jumped, turned. Dante stood in the doorway, changed from his suit into dark jeans and a black sweater. More casual, but no less imposing. "Sorry, didn't mean to startle you. It's fine, I'm just jumpy, understandable." He moved to the coffee pot, refilled his cup. "How's your grandmother sleeping?" "The medications make her tired. Olivia mentioned she has health issues. Lung damage from the chemical plant where she worked." Rachel's voice went tight. 30 years breathing toxic fumes so I could have food and shelter. Now she's paying the price. Dante was quiet for a moment. "Medical bills, $43,000, not counting ongoing treatment. And you're working 3 jobs to pay it down." "Was working. Past tense. Someone just blew up my normal life, remember?" Rachel regretted the words immediately, but Dante didn't react to the anger. "I'll take care of the medical bills. All of them." "No," the word came out sharp. "I don't want your money." "Then what do you want?" Rachel met his eyes. "I want to help you find who did this, and I want to watch them pay for it." Dante studied her. Something shifted in his expression. "Respect, maybe? Or recognition? You sound like family now." Before she could respond, his phone rang. He answered without looking away from her. "Yes." Pause. "Where?" Another pause. "Keep him there. I'm coming." He ended the call. "We found Garrett." Rachel's heart jumped. "Where?" "Montreal. Hiding in a hotel under a fake name. My people have been watching him. He just made contact with someone here in New York." "Who?" "That's what I'm going to find out." Dante moved toward the door. "Stay here. Olivia will be back within the hour." "Wait." Rachel followed him. "I'm coming with you." "No, I can help. I saw what happened. I can identify him. Confirm it's the same person." "You're not trained for this. It could be dangerous." "I don't care." Rachel's voice rose. "You said I'm family now, that you protect family. Well, family doesn't sit home while others do the work. Family helps." Dante stopped, turned to face her fully. "You have no idea what you're asking for. Then show me. Teach me. But don't lock me in this house like a prisoner." They stared at each other. Rachel refused to look away first. Finally, Dante nodded. "Fine, but you follow my orders exactly. No questions, no hesitation. Understood, understood. And if things go wrong, you run. You don't try to help. You don't try to fight. You run and you hide." Clear crystal. He studied her another moment, then pulled out his phone, made a call. "Marcus, bring the car around. And you bring a vest. Small, a vest bulletproof." Dante's voice was matter of fact. "If you are coming into my world, you wear protection." 20 minutes later, Rachel sat in the back of the SUV, bulletproof vest tight against her ribs. Marcus driving, Dante beside him in the passenger seat. They drove in silence, Manhattan rising before them. The city Rachel had called home for 3 years, but had never really known. Not like this. Not from inside the world where power moved beneath the surface, where money and influence operated in shadows. Dante's phone buzzed constantly. He answered in short clipped sentences, giving orders, receiving updates, coordinating movements Rachel couldn't fully follow. She watched the back of his head, the tension in his shoulders, the way his fingers drummed once against his thigh, a gesture of controlled frustration. He was worried, trying not to show it. They pulled up outside a building in Hell's Kitchen. Nondescript, gray stone. Could have been offices or apartments or anything. Dante turned to face her. "Top floor. My people have Garrett there. We're going to ask him questions. You'll watch through one-way glass. If you can confirm he's the man you saw poison." The wine nod once. "That's it. Don't speak. Don't react otherwise. Understand?" Rachel nodded. They entered through a side door, took an elevator to the top floor. No music, no mirrors, just steel walls and fluorescent lights. The elevator opened to a long hallway. Dante led her to a room on the left. Inside was empty except for 2 chairs and a large mirror on one wall. "Through there." Dante gestured to the mirror. "You'll be able to see and hear everything, but they can't see you." "Who's they, Garrett?" "And the man asking questions." "You know, someone else. I need to stay objective. If I go in there, I might kill him before we get answers." The casual way he said it made Rachel's blood run cold. Dante left. Rachel stood alone in the empty room, staring at her reflection in the mirror. What was she doing here? This wasn't her world. She was a waitress from Queens. She poured wine and smiled and stayed invisible. But she had stopped being invisible the moment she knocked over that water glass. No going back now. Movement on the other side of the mirror. Rachel stepped closer. Garrett Stone sat in a chair, hands zip-tied behind him, face bruised, blood dried at the corner of his mouth. But alive, conscious. A man stood across from him, tall, muscular, calm expression. The man pulled up a chair, sat backward on it, arms folded across the back. Garrett, let's talk about last night. I don't know what you're talking about. The wine glass. At Belafonte, you put something in Dante Moretti's drink. You're insane. We have the glass, tested it, concentrated oleander extract, enough to cause cardiac arrest within 20 minutes. Symptoms would look like a heart attack. Garrett said nothing. Who gave you the poison? Silence. Who's paying you? More silence. The interrogator stood, walked behind Garrett, leaned down to speak quietly near his ear. Rachel couldn't hear the words, but she saw Garrett's face go pale. The interrogator returned to his chair. Last chance, Garrett. Who's behind this? Garrett's resistance crumbled. Victor Kane. Rachel's breath caught. Victor Kane, the jovial man who had laughed when she spilled the water, who had seemed harmless. The interrogator continued, how long has this been planned? 6 months, maybe more. Victor's been recruiting, building support for what? A coup. He wants control, thinks Dante's going soft. Trying to legitimize everything. Victor says it's betraying the old ways, betraying Dante's father. Who else is involved? I don't know all the names. Victor kept it compartmentalized. I only knew my part, which was poison Dante. Make it look natural. Heart attack. Then Victor would take over during the chaos. And you agreed to this. Why money? A cut of the operation, and, Garrett paused. Victor promised me more. Said I'd run the Brooklyn territory. So you betrayed a man you worked with for 5 years, for money and territory. Garrett looked down, said nothing. The interrogator stood, walked to the door, knocked twice. Dante entered. Garrett's eyes went wide. No, please, I didn't want to. Victor made me. He said if I didn't help, he'd kill my family. You don't have family, Garrett. Your parents are dead. You're an only child. No wife, no kids. That's a lie, and I hate liars. Dante's voice was cold, controlled, but Rachel could hear the fury beneath. Please, I'll tell you everything. Everyone involved. Just don't kill me. I'm not going to kill you, Garrett. Dante pulled up the chair. Sat. That would be too easy. You're going to tell me everything. Every name, every meeting, every detail, and then you're going to disappear. New identity, new city, you'll live. But you'll spend every day knowing you're a coward who betrayed trust for greed. Garrett started talking. Names poured out. Victor Kane, 3 others in Dante's organization, 2 outsiders brought in for muscle. Rachel listened, memorizing, understanding for the first time how deep this went. This wasn't just about killing Dante. It was about taking over an empire. When Garrett finished, Dante stood, looked directly at the mirror, at Rachel standing on the other side. Their eyes met through the glass. He couldn't see her, but somehow he knew exactly where she stood. He nodded once. A question. Rachel nodded back, confirming. Yes, that's the man who poisoned the wine. Dante left the room. Seconds later entered the one where Rachel waited. You did good. Rachel's hands were shaking. I've never seen anything like that. Welcome to my world. His voice wasn't proud, just tired. This is what you wanted to see. No, Rachel met his eyes. What I wanted was justice. That wasn't justice. That was just information. Justice comes next. Dante moved to the door. We need to move. Victor will know Garrett's been taken within hours. Maybe he already knows. We need to act before he does. What are you going to do? End this, one way or another. And me? You go back to the safe house. Stay with your grandmother. Let me handle the rest. No, Rachel's voice was firm. You said I'm family, that I help. I meant it, Rachel. This isn't serving tables. People are going to get hurt. Maybe killed, I know. Her voice didn't waver. And I still want to help. Dante studied her for a long moment. While you could walk away now, I'd still protect you. Still take care of your grandmother's medical bills. You don't owe me anything more. Because, Rachel took a breath, because my whole life I've been invisible. Working jobs no one notices. Struggling quietly. Never making waves. Last night, for the first time, I did something that mattered. Something that made a difference. And I'm not ready to go back to invisible yet. Dante's expression softened almost imperceptibly. Right. But there are rules. You follow orders. You stay behind protection. You don't take risks. Can you do that? I can try. Trying isn't good enough. Then yes, I can do that. Good. Because what comes next is going to be ugly. They returned to the safe house. Dante disappeared into a home office, made calls, sent messages, coordinated movements. Rachel sat with her grandmother, made dinner from what she found in the kitchen, tried to pretend everything was normal. Her grandmother wasn't fooled. You're in over your head, child. I know. That man, Dante, he's dangerous. I know that too. But you're not leaving. No, why not? Rachel set down her fork. For 3 years, I've worked myself to exhaustion. 3 guastero, barely sleeping. Paying your medical bills, saving for a future I'm not sure will ever come. And I've been okay with that, because that's what you do. You work hard. You survive. She met her grandmother's eyes. But last night I saved a life. I made a choice that mattered, and I can't just walk away from that. Can't go back to being invisible. Not yet. Her grandmother reached across the table, took Rachel's hand. Your mother was like that too. Stubborn, brave, unwilling to back down from what she believed was right. Rachel felt tears prick her eyes. You never talk about her. Because it hurts, losing your child. Even after 20 years. But I see her in you, and I'm proud. Terrified but proud. They sat in silence, holding hands across the table. A knock on the door. Dante entered. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Victor knows we have Garrett. He's moved up his timeline, planning to strike tonight. Strike what? My legitimate businesses, the restaurants, the construction sites. He's going to hit them all at once. Burn them, destroy them, force me to respond, and when you respond, he'll be waiting, with more men than I have, and better weapons. So what do you do? Dante looked at Rachel, then at her grandmother, then back to Rachel. I do what I should have done years ago. I call for help from people I swore I'd never ask. Who? My father's enemies. The families we've been at war with for decades. I offer them a deal. Help me stop Victor, and I'll give them territory. Peace, a chance to expand without opposition. Will they accept? They will if the offer's good enough. And if they believe Victor's a bigger threat than I am. And is he? Dante's smile was grim. By the time I'm done making the case, he will be. He pulled out his phone, started making calls. Rachel watched him work, saw the weight of leadership, the burden of choices that could save or destroy, and understood for the first time what it cost to be Dante Moretti. Hours passed, phone calls, negotiations, promises made, alliances formed from necessity rather than trust. By midnight, Dante had commitments from 3 rival families. 40 men, good weapons, motivated by the promise of peace and profit. It wasn't enough. Victor had more, and he had the advantage of choosing the battlefield. But it was what they had. Dante gathered his people in the safe house living room. Marcus, the interrogator, whose name was Thomas. 2 others Rachel hadn't met, Olivia and Rachel. Here's what we know. Dante stood at the head of the room. Victor will hit my businesses at 2 a.m. Multiple locations. He wants me spread thin, responding to fires instead of protecting what matters. What matters? Marcus asked. This house. You. Everyone I care about. If he can take us out while I'm distracted, he wins completely. So we don't get distracted. Thomas crossed his arms. We fortify here. Let the businesses burn. No, Dante shook his head. If I let him destroy everything I've built, I look weak. Other families will sense blood in the water. There will be more attempts, more challenges. Then we split up. Marcus again. Half protect the businesses. Half stay here. We don't have the numbers. Dante's frustration showed. Victor's planned this too well. Rachel spoke for the first time. What if you don't have to split up? Everyone turned to look at her. Dante's expression was patient. What do you mean Victor expects you at your businesses? Defending them? Right, right. So don't be there. You just said I can't let them burn. You can't. But they don't have to burn. Rachel stood, moved to the center of the room. What if you warn the fire department ahead of time? Tell them there will be arson attempts at these locations. Have them staged nearby. When Victor's people show up to start fires, they're arrested. That won't stop Victor. Olivia's tone was skeptical. No, but it buys you time and forces him to change plans. Make new decisions. Quick decisions. People make mistakes when rushed. Dante studied her. Where did you learn that waitressing? Rachel almost smiled. When you want a customer to order quickly, you make them feel rushed. Limited time offers. Other people waiting for the table. They make impulsive choices, usually in your favor. Silence filled the room. Then Thomas laughed, a short bark of surprise. She's right. If we eliminate his opening move, he'll have to improvise. And improvisation means mistakes. Dante nodded slowly. Right. We warn the fire department. Anonymous tip about arson attempts. They stage units nearby. What about Victor? Marcus asked. If his men get arrested, he'll know something's wrong. Exactly. Dante's eyes met Rachel's. And when he knows something's wrong, he'll come here to finish it personally. This was his plan all along. Rachel understood. You wanted him to come here. Yes, because here I control the terrain. Here my allies can help. Here we end this once and for all. Dante turned to his people. Thomas, coordinate with NYPD. Anonymous tips about the arson. Make it sound credible, but not too detailed. Marcus, contact our new friends. Tell them to be here by 1 a.m. Staging positions around the property. Olivia, weapons check. Make sure everyone's armed and supplied. They dispersed, leaving Rachel alone with Dante. You should take your grandmother and leave. Go to a hotel, somewhere far from here. No, Rachel, this is going to get violent. People will die tonight. I know, but I'm staying. Why? You've done enough, more than enough. Rachel moved closer, looked up at him. Because you said I'm family, and family doesn't run when things get hard. Dante's expression softened. For the first time since she met him, she saw something vulnerable in his eyes. I don't want you hurt. Then keep me safe. They stood close, the space between them charged with unspoken words. Then Olivia returned with a vest and a gun. If you're staying, you're armed. She handed both to Rachel. The gun's loaded, safety's on. You know how to shoot, I've seen movies. Olivia's expression didn't change. Point, aim, center mass, squeeze the trigger. Don't pull, squeeze, and if you have to shoot, shoot to kill. No warning shots, no aiming for legs. This isn't the movies, understand? Rachel took the gun, heavier than she expected. Colder, understood. 1 a.m. arrived. Men gathered around the property, some Dantes, some from rival families who had accepted his offer. All armed, all ready. Rachel sat in the kitchen with her grandmother, both wearing vests, both knowing what was coming. Her grandmother held her hand. Whatever happens, I want you to know. You made me proud. Every day of your life, Grandma, don't, hush. Let me say this. You're stronger than you know, braver than you believe. And when this is over, you're going to do great things. Tears ran down Rachel's cheeks. I love you. I love you too, child. Dante appeared in the doorway. They're coming. The first shot shattered the kitchen window at exactly 2:13 a.m. Rachel hit the floor, pulling her grandmother down with her. Glass rained across the tile. The sound of gunfire erupted outside like thunder rolling across the property. Dante was already moving. He grabbed Rachel's arm, hauled her and her grandmother toward the hallway. Basement. Now they ran. Rachel's grandmother stumbled. Rachel caught her, half carried her down the stairs into darkness. Dante flipped a switch. Fluorescent lights flickered on. The basement was finished. Carpeted. A couch. Television. And in the corner, a heavy steel door. Safe room. Dante pulled it open. Reinforced walls. Surveillance monitors. Supplies. Get inside. What about you? I have work to do. Dante, Rachel grabbed his arm. Don't get killed. He looked at her. Something passed between them. Unspoken. Profound. I'll try not to. Then he was gone. the steel door closing behind him, lock engaging automatically. Rachel and her grandmother were alone in the safe room. Her grandmother moved to the couch, sat with hands folded in her lap, remarkably calm for someone in a basement while a war raged above. You should sit, child. Nothing we can do but wait. Rachel couldn't sit. She paced to the monitors. 6 screens showing different angles of the property. Grandma, I'm scared. I know. Her grandmother's voice was steady. Lived through worse than this. 1967. Newark riots. Your grandfather and I hid in our apartment for 3 days while the city burned. We survived that. We'll survive this. Rachel watched the monitors. Men moving through shadows. Muzzle flashes. Figures falling. Someone's going to die tonight. Probably. Her grandmother pulled rosary beads from her pocket. Started praying. Quiet. Rhythmic. Rachel wanted to feel her grandmother's faith, her certainty, but all she felt was fear. On the monitors, the battle intensified. More gunfire. Men falling. Blood on grass. Her grandmother kept praying. 2 ways of surviving, Rachel realized. Action and faith. Fight and prayer. She'd spent her whole life trying to be like her grandmother, patient, faithful, waiting for things to get better. But tonight had taught her something. Sometimes waiting wasn't enough. Sometimes you had to act. I need to go up there. Her grandmother's prayer stopped. What, Olivia's in danger? Dante's outnumbered. I can't just sit here. Rachel, no. Her grandmother stood, crossed to her. You stay here where it's safe. I'm not safe anywhere anymore. Not after tonight. Rachel moved to the safe room door. But I can help. I can do something. Her grandmother grabbed her arm. Stronger grip than Rachel expected from arthritic hands. You go up there, you might die. If I stay here and they die, I'll never forgive myself. They stared at each other. 2 women, 2 generations, 2 different kinds of courage. Finally, her grandmother released her arm. Then you come back to me, you hear, whatever happens up there, you come back. I will. I promise. Rachel unlocked the safe room door from inside, stepped into the basement, turned back. Her grandmother standing in the doorway. Rosary beads clutched tight. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, child. Now go. And be smart. Being brave doesn't mean being stupid. Rachel closed the safe room door. Heard the lock engage. Her grandmother was safe. Locked in steel and concrete. Now Rachel had to make sure she stayed that way. She climbed the basement stairs. Toward gunfire. Toward danger. Toward whatever came next. Rachel and her grandmother were alone in the safe room. 6 monitors showed different angles of the property. Rachel watched as men moved through shadows. Muzzle flashes in the darkness. Figures falling. The battle had begun. Outside, Dante moved through the chaos with practiced precision. He had fought in wars before. Not the kind with flags and uniforms. The kind that happened in shadows. Where survival meant being faster, smarter, more ruthless than your enemies. Victor had brought 30 men, maybe more. They came from the north and east, through the trees, over the fence, professional, coordinated. But Dante had 40, and they knew the terrain. Marcus appeared at his shoulder. North side is holding, but they're pushing hard on the east. How many? 15? Maybe 20. Pull 5 from the north. Reinforce the east. We need to funnel them toward the house. The house. Marcus's confusion was clear. Trust me. Marcus spoke into his radio, giving orders. Men moved like chess pieces across the property. Thomas emerged from the shadows, breathing hard, blood on his sleeve. You hit grazed. I'm fine. Thomas wiped his face. They're better armed than we thought. Military-grade weapons. Someone's been supplying them. Victor's been planning this for months. Dante checked his gun. Reloaded. He's had time to prepare. So have we. Not enough. Another burst of gunfire. Closer now. Victor's men were advancing. Dante keyed his radio. All units, fall back to secondary positions. Let them come. His men retreated. Orderly. Controlled. Drawing Victor's forces deeper into the property. Toward the killing ground Dante had prepared. In the safe room, Rachel watched on the monitors. She saw men falling. Some Dantes. Some Victors. Blood on grass. Bodies that stopped moving. Her hands shook. She had asked for this. Asked to be part of it. But seeing it, actually watching people die, nothing prepared you for that. Her grandmother sat beside her, silent, watching the same screens. This is what his world looks like. Her voice was quiet. This is the price of the life he lives, I know. Do you? Her grandmother turned to face her. Because I see how you look at him, and I need you to understand. Men like Dante Moretti don't get happy endings. They get violent deaths or prison cells. He's trying to change, trying to go legitimate. Maybe. But tonight proves how hard that is. How many people want to pull him back down? Rachel had no answer to that. On the monitors, Dante's forces continued their controlled retreat. Victor's men advancing, confident, pressing the advantage. Then Dante's voice crackled over radios Rachel could hear through the monitor audio. Now! The trap sprung. Floodlights blazed across the back lawn. Blinding. Victor's men froze. Exposed, nowhere to hide. And Dante's allied forces, the rival families who had accepted his offer, emerged from concealed positions. They had been waiting, patient, letting Victor's men come to them. Now they opened fire. The battle turned in seconds. Victor's men scrambled for cover, found none. The carefully manicured lawn offered no protection. They were caught in a crossfire. Dante's men from one side, the allied families from the other. It was a massacre. Some of Victor's men threw down their weapons, surrendered. Others tried to run. Few made it. In 5 minutes, the shooting stopped. Dante walked across the lawn, surveying the aftermath. Bodies everywhere, some moving, most not. He felt nothing, no satisfaction, no remorse, just tired. This was the key. The price of leadership in a world built on violence. Marcus joined him. We got most of them, maybe 5 escaped. And Victor's not here. He sent his men but stayed away. Smart, Dante pulled out his phone. He's watching from somewhere, waiting to see if we survived. What do? We go to him. Where is he? Dante made a call. It was answered on the first ring. Victor, I know you can see what just happened. Your men are dead or captured. Your plan failed. Silence on the other end. Then Victor's voice. Calm, almost amused. That was just the opening move, Dante. You think I'd stake everything on one attack? What are you talking about? Check your phone, email, subject line, checkmate. Dante pulled the phone from his ear, opened his email. A video file. He pressed play. The screen showed a parking garage, downtown Manhattan, and tied to a support column was Olivia, beaten, bloodied, but alive. Victor's voice continued through the phone. You have 1 hour. Come alone to the location I'm sending. We'll settle this face to face, or Olivia dies. And don't bother calling the police. I have people watching. Any cops show up, she's dead before they get close. The call ended. A text arrived. An address in Hell's Kitchen. The warehouse district. Marcus read over his shoulder. It's a trap, obviously. So we don't go. We have to go. Dante pocketed his phone. Olivia's been with me for 8 years. She's family. Then we bring everyone. Hit him with overwhelming force. No, if Victor sees that he kills her immediately, he wants me alone, so I'll go. I'll go alone. That's suicide, maybe, but it's the only play we have. Dante turned toward the house, toward the safe room where Rachel waited. He had 1 hour. 1 hour to end this, or die trying. Rachel heard the safe room door unlock. Dante appeared, covered in dirt and blood. None of it seemed to be his. It's over, the battle is, the war isn't, he explained quickly. Victor, Olivia, the ultimatum. Rachel stood. Then we go get her. We don't do anything. I go. Alone. No, Rachel's voice was firm. You said family helps. Olivia's family. So I'm coming. Rachel, this isn't negotiable. You're right, it's not. Rachel checked her gun. Safety off, like Olivia taught me. I'm coming. And unless you're planning to lock me in this safe room, you can't stop me. Dante stared at her. Anger and admiration warring in his expression. You're going to get yourself killed. Maybe, but I'd rather die doing something that matters than live safe and invisible. Dante looked at her grandmother. Ma'am, talk sense into your granddaughter. Her grandmother smiled, tired but genuine. Mr. Moretti, I've been trying to talk sense into that girl for 26 years. Never worked once. Good luck. Dante turned back to Rachel. If you come, you follow my orders exactly. No heroics, no improvising. Understand, understood. And if I tell you to run, you run. No arguing, no looking back. Fine. He studied her another moment, then nodded. All right, but we're not going in blind. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Thomas, I need eyes on that warehouse. Full surveillance, heat signatures, entry points. I want to know every person inside and where they're positioned. He listened to the response. I don't care if you only have 45 minutes. Make it work. Ended the call. To Rachel, we'll know what we're walking into before we get there. That gives us an advantage. What about Victor? He said. Come alone. I am coming alone. You're just backup. Backup he won't see until it's too late. How Dante smiled. Grim, determined. You wanted to learn my world. Time for a lesson. 20 minutes later, they were in an SUV. Marcus driving, Thomas in passenger seat, Dante and Rachel in back. Rachel wore all black, face smudged with dirt to reduce shine, hair pulled back tight. The bulletproof vest felt heavier now, more real. Thomas had a laptop open, showing thermal imaging of the warehouse. 6 heat signatures inside, 1 in the center of the main floor. That's Olivia, 3 on the upper level, sniper positions, 2 near the entrance, guards, and Victor upper level, northwest corner, overlooking everything. Smart. Dante studied the image. He can see anyone coming and escape if things go wrong. So how do we get to him? We don't, not directly. Thomas zoomed in, but there's a service entrance on the south side, leads to the lower level, from there stairs to the main floor. You could come up behind Olivia's position, create a distraction while we hit from the front. Who's we? Thomas gestured to himself and Marcus. We'll take out the guards. You get Olivia. Then we all focus on Victor. And me, Rachel asked. You're with me. Dante met her eyes. You stay low, stay quiet. And if shooting starts, you get Olivia and run. Don't wait for us. Don't try to help, just run. Rachel wanted to argue, but saw the intensity in his gaze. This wasn't negotiable. Okay. They parked 3 blocks from the warehouse, approached on foot, silent, moving through shadows. The building loomed before them. 4 stories of crumbling brick, windows broken or boarded, a relic from when this neighborhood manufactured goods instead of hosting illegal meetings. Dante checked his watch. 52 minutes since Victor's call. He keyed his radio. Thomas Marcus position. North entrance. Ready on your signal. Rachel and I are going for the south service door. Give us 3 minutes to get into position. Then we move together. Copy that. Dante turned to Rachel. Last chance to back out. I'm not backing out. Good. Stay behind me. Step where I step. Don't make noise. They moved. The service entrance was locked. Dante pulled a small tool from his pocket, picked the lock in 15 seconds. The door opened with a soft creak. Inside was darkness. Dante pulled out a small flashlight, red filter to preserve night vision. They descended stairs. Concrete, industrial, the smell of oil and rust. At the bottom, a corridor. Dante moved forward. Rachel followed, her heart pounding so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. They reached another door. Dante pressed his ear against it, listening, then slowly opened it. The main floor of the warehouse opened before them. Cavernous, support columns every 20 feet, minimal lighting from fixtures hanging high above. And in the center, tied to a chair, was Olivia. Rachel could see her clearly, face bruised, blood dried on her temple, but alert, alive. 3 men stood on a catwalk above, silhouettes against dim light, rifles ready. 2 more flanked the main entrance, visible from where Rachel and Dante crouched. Dante keyed his radio. Whisper quiet. In position. On 3. 1, 2, 3. The main entrance exploded inward. Marcus and Thomas came through fast. Professional. Each took a target. 2 shots. Both guards dropped. The men on the catwalk spun. Opened fire. Bullets sparked off concrete and metal. Marcus and Thomas took cover behind support columns. Returned fire. And Dante moved. He sprinted across the open floor. Rachel right behind him. Head down, legs pumping. They reached Olivia. Dante cut her restraints with a knife. Can you walk? I can run. Olivia's voice was hoarse but steady. Then do it. Get her out. Dante pushed Rachel toward the exit they'd used. What about you? I'm finishing this. Dante turned, raised his gun, fired at the catwalk, providing cover while Marcus and Thomas advanced. Rachel grabbed Olivia's arm, pulled her toward the door. They were halfway there when a figure stepped from the shadows. Going somewhere, Victor Kane. He stood between them and the exit, gun raised, pointed at Rachel's chest. Olivia tried to put herself between them. Victor shifted aim to her. Don't. Both of you stay right there. Rachel froze. Victor smiled. Not warm, not cold, just satisfied. The waitress. I remember you. You spilled water on Dante. Very clumsy. It wasn't an accident. Rachel's voice came out steadier than she felt. I know. Victor's smile widened. That's why you're here. Your leverage. Insurance. Dante cares about you now. Don't ask me why. You're nothing special. But he thinks you are. He gestured with the gun. Walk. Toward the center, slowly. Rachel and Olivia moved. Victor behind them. Gun steady. They emerged into the open floor. The gunfight still raging above. Marcus and Thomas trying to take out the snipers. Dante saw them. Saw Victor. His expression went cold. Let them go, Victor. Victor laughed. Why would I do that? They're the reason you'll surrender. I'm not surrendering. No. Victor pressed the gun against Rachel's head, then watch her die. Time seemed to stop. Rachel could feel the cold metal against her temple, could hear her own heartbeat. Loud, insistent. This was it. This was how she died. Not from poverty, not from exhaustion, but from choosing to be seen. Strange, she didn't regret it. Dante's voice cut through the chaos. Victor, you want me? Fine. I'll put down my gun. Let them go and you can kill me. That's what this is about, right? Taking my place. Victor hesitated, thinking, calculating. How do I know you won't just shoot me when I let them go? You don't, but you have to decide. Do you want revenge or do you want to survive? What's that supposed to mean? Look around you, your men are dead. Your plan failed. Even if you kill me, even if you kill all of us, my allies outside will hunt you. You'll never be safe, never be able to claim what you think you've won. So what are you offering? A deal. Let them go. You and I settle this, face to face, no guns, just us. Winner takes everything. Victor's grip on Rachel loosened slightly. You're serious, dead serious. Why would you risk that? Because I'm tired. Tired of this life. Tired of looking over my shoulder. Tired of people I trust trying to kill me. So let's end it, right here. Right now. Victor stared at Dante, searching for deception, finding only exhaustion. Fine. He pushed Rachel toward Olivia. Get out, both of you. Rachel stumbled. Olivia caught her. Go. Dante didn't look at them, his eyes fixed on Victor. Rachel wanted to argue, wanted to stay, wanted to help. But Olivia pulled her away. Toward the exit. They were 10 feet from the door when Rachel stopped. I can't leave him. Yes, you can. Olivia's voice was urgent. This is what he wants. Let him do this. He'll die, maybe. Or maybe he'll win. But either way, it's his choice. Rachel looked back. Dante and Victor faced each other, 20 feet apart. Both had holstered their guns. Victor spoke first. I trained for years. Boxing, martial arts. You're good, Dante. But I'm better. Prove it. They circled, predators assessing, looking for weakness. Victor struck first. Fast. A jab toward Dante's face. Dante slipped it. Countered with a body shot. Connected. Hard. Victor grunted. Backed up. Smiled. Good. This will be fun. They clashed. Victor was right. He was trained. His movements were technical. Precise. But Dante was brutal. He didn't fight with technique. He fought with violence. Every punch meant to break. Every kick meant to destroy. They traded blows. Blood spattered the concrete. Both men's faces swelling, breathing hard. Victor landed a combination. Head, body, head. Dante staggered. Victor pressed the advantage. Drove forward. Relentless. Dante went down. Victor stood over him, breathing hard, victorious. "It's over, Dante. You lost." He pulled his gun. Rachel screamed, "No." Her body moved before her mind registered the decision. She raised her gun, the one Olivia had given her, aimed at Victor. Her hand shook violently. The gun felt impossibly heavy. She squeezed the trigger. The recoil shocked her, gun jerking upward. The shot went high, witty, missed completely. Bullet sparked off a metal beam behind Victor. Victor spun toward her, eyes widening. He started to raise his gun. Rachel fired again. Desperate. No aim, just pulling the trigger. This shot hit. Pure luck. Caught Victor in the shoulder, not fatal, but enough. He stumbled, gun wavering. Dante was already moving. Rolled, grabbed his own weapon from where it had fallen. 2 shots. Quick, professional. Victor jerked, once, twice. Looked down at his chest. 2 holes, center mass. These were kill shots. He looked at Dante. Not Rachel, understanding in his dying eyes. "You." Victor's voice was barely a whisper. Blood on his lips. "Always you." He collapsed, gun clattering on concrete. Dante stood slowly, moved to Victor, kicked the gun away, checked for pulse. "He's dead." Rachel stood frozen, gun still raised, hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped it. Dante crossed to her, gently took the gun from her grip. "You distracted him. Gave me the opening I needed." "I missed." Rachel's voice was hollow. "I couldn't even hit him." "You didn't need to. You acted. That's what mattered. But he was so surprised I had a gun. That's why he turned. That's why you could get your weapon." Rachel looked at Victor's body, at the blood pooling beneath him. "I didn't kill him. You did. We both did." Dante's voice was firm. "Your shot wounded him, slowed him down. My shots finished it. We both did what was necessary." But the guilt on Rachel's face said she understood the truth. She had tried to kill someone. Failed. And watching Dante succeed was somehow worse than if she'd done it herself. Rachel lowered her gun, hands shaking now. Violently. "I killed him. You saved me." Dante moved to her, took the gun gently from her grip. "You did what you had to do. I killed someone." The reality was crashing over her. The weight of it, the finality. Her legs gave out. Dante caught her, held her up. "Breathe, just breathe." Rachel couldn't. Her chest was tight, vision tunneling, panic attack. Olivia appeared beside them. "Get her outside, fresh air." Dante carried Rachel out of the warehouse, into the night. Cold air hit her face. Slowly, her breathing steadied. Vision cleared. "I'm okay." Voice shaky but present. "You're not okay, but you will be." Dante set her down, kept his hands on her shoulders, steadying her. Rachel looked up at him, face bloody, eyes swelling shut. "But alive. Are you all right? I'll live. Thanks to you. I didn't. I couldn't just watch him." "I know." Dante's voice was soft. "And I'm grateful. But Rachel, you need to understand what you just did. Taking a life. It changes you, no matter how justified, no matter the reason." "I know." Rachel's voice was small. "I already feel it. It gets easier." That's the worst part. It gets easier. They stood together, in the aftermath, surrounded by violence they'd both participated in. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. "Police." Marcus emerged from the warehouse. Thomas behind him. "We need to go, now." "What about the bodies? Our allies are handling cleanup." "But we can't be here when cops arrive." They moved. Fast, into the SUV, Marcus drove. Away from the warehouse, away from the carnage. Rachel sat him back, numb, processing. She had killed someone, taken a life. Victor's face kept flashing in her mind. The surprise, the blood. Dante's hand found hers, squeezed gently. She squeezed back. They arrived at the safe house as dawn broke, pink and gold across the horizon. Her grandmother was waiting, rushed to Rachel, held her. "Thank God. Thank God you're alive." "I'm okay, Grandma." Her grandmother pulled back, looked at her face, saw something there. "What happened?" Rachel told her. Everything, the warehouse, Victor, the shot. Her grandmother held her while she cried, rocking her like she was 6 years old again. When the tears finally stopped, her grandmother spoke quietly. You did what you had to do to protect someone you care about. That doesn't make you bad, it makes you human. Rachel wasn't sure she believed that, but she wanted to. Dante gave them space, went to the kitchen with Olivia, Marcus, and Thomas, debriefing, planning next steps. An hour later, he found Rachel on the back porch, watching the sun climb higher. We need to talk. Rachel tensed. This is where you tell me to leave. To go back to my normal life? Actually, no. Dante leaned against the railing. This is where I tell you that you can't go back. Not yet. Why not? The police will investigate. Victor's death, the warehouse, they'll find evidence, ask questions. If you're out there visible, they might connect you. So I'm a fugitive now. No, but you need to stay low. Stay here until things settle. How long? Weeks, maybe a month. And then you can go back. I'll make sure your jobs are waiting. Your grandmother's medical bills will be paid, all 43,000. And I'll set up a fund for your nursing school, full tuition, living expenses, everything. Rachel turned to face him. Why? Why do all that? Because you saved my life twice. That's a debt I can't repay with money. But I can try. I don't want your money, Dante. Then what do you want? Rachel didn't know how to answer that. What she wanted was complicated. Impossible, maybe. She wanted to go back to her normal life, to invisibility, to safety, but she also wanted to stay, to be part of something that mattered, to be seen. I don't know, she finally said. I don't know what I want anymore. That's okay. Dante's voice was gentle. You don't have to know right now. Take time. Heal. Figure it out. And what will you do? Finish what I started. Transition the business. All of it. Legitimate, clean, no more gray areas. Will it work? Maybe. With Victor gone, I've eliminated the biggest opposition. The others will fall in line or leave. And if they don't, then I'll deal with them. But I'm tired of violence, tired of looking over my shoulder. I want out. Why not just walk away? Leave all of it behind, because people depend on me. Families I'm responsible for. Legitimate businesses that employ hundreds. I can't just abandon them. So you're trapped. We're all trapped by our choices. Dante met her eyes. The question is whether we can find freedom within those traps. They stood in silence, watching the sun. Finally, Rachel spoke. Thank you for protecting me, for protecting my grandmother, for all of it. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do, because you didn't have to do any of this. You could have just let me go, cut ties, stayed separate from the mess I became part of. You became part of it by saving me. That makes you family, and I protect family. There was that word again, family. Rachel had spent so long with only her grandmother. No one else who cared, no one else who would risk anything for her. And now this dangerous man who lived in shadows called her family. It should have felt wrong, should have felt like a lie, but it didn't. It felt like the first true thing anyone had said to her in years. The next 3 weeks were not peaceful. Rachel stayed at the safe house with her grandmother. But outside, the world was hunting for answers. 37 bodies. That's what the police found at the safe house property. 37 men dead from gunfire. Millions in property damage. Shell casings everywhere. Blood soaked into expensive lawn. The FBI got involved on special task force. They wanted to know who, why, how. Dante sat with Rachel on the 4th day, explained the situation. They're investigating. Hard, but they don't have much. How is that possible? Rachel's voice was strained. 37 people died. Someone must have seen something. They saw a gang war, rival factions, which happens in my world. The question is who was involved, and that's where the trail goes cold. He pulled out his phone, showed her a news article. FBI investigates mass shooting at Westchester Estate. Suspected gang violence. No arrests yet. Victor's name was mentioned. Suspected ringleader. But no mention of Dante. No mention of Rachel. How, she asked. Money, lawyers, connections. I've been building those for years. He pocketed the phone. The property's owned by a shell company, 3 layers deep. My name's nowhere on the deed. Security footage was corrupted. Convenient electrical surge during the firefight. That's not possible. Nothing's that convenient. It is when you plan for it. Dante's voice was tired. I've always known someone might come for me. I prepared. Made sure if it happened, I could walk away clean. What about the bodies? Fingerprints, DNA. Half the dead men have no records. Criminals, illegal immigrants, men who don't exist on paper. The others, foreign nationals. Families being contacted. Bodies being shipped home. Investigation will take years. Rachel absorbed this, the scale of it, the planning, and the other five she asked. The conspirator, Garrett named Dante's expression, darkened. Two fled. Marcus tracked them to Brazil and Argentina. I let them go. Not worth the international manhunt. They're small players. Without Victor, they're nothing. And the other three, I found them, brought them in, gave them a choice. He paused. Rachel could see the weight of the decision in his eyes. Leave the life completely. New identities, new cities, clean break, or face consequences. What did they choose? All three took the new identities. One's in Seattle now, carpenter. The second is in Austin, restaurant manager. Third went to Portland, works construction. You let them live. After they tried to kill you, I let them disappear. Dante met her eyes. I'm trying to build something different, Rachel. Something that doesn't run on blood and revenge. That means sometimes you show mercy, even when it's hard. What if they come back? They won't. Marcus is watching them. If any of them even look at a plane ticket to New York, they'll know. And they know what happens then. Rachel nodded slowly, understanding the balance. Mercy with teeth, forgiveness with consequences. So it's over. The conspiracy, the threat, all of it. The immediate threat, yes. But investigations will continue. FBI, state police. They'll dig, ask questions. Eventually the trail might lead somewhere. To you, to shell companies, to lawyers who know how to say nothing, to paper trails that dead end. He stood, moved to the window, looking out at the property where 37 men had died. In 6 months, maybe a year, they'll file it as unsolved. Gang violence. No primary suspects. Case stays open but inactive. That's how these things work. Rachel joined him at the window. You've done this before, made bodies disappear, made investigations stall. I've survived in this world for 10 years. You don't do that by being careless. They stood in silence, Rachel processing the machinery of power and corruption that had saved her life, that had made her complicit in things she'd never imagined. I should feel worse about this, she said quietly, about the manipulation, the cover-up. But I don't. That's because you understand now the world isn't black and white, it's gray. And in the gray, you do what you must to protect the people you love. Is that what you tell yourself to sleep at night? Dante smiled. Tired, I don't sleep much, Rachel. Haven't in years. Slowly over those 3 weeks, the intensity faded. News cycle moved on. FBI investigation continued, but with less urgency. Other crimes demanded attention. And Rachel's life began the long process of returning to something like normal. But she knew now. Normal was a fiction, a comfortable lie people told themselves. She had seen the machinery beneath the surface, the violence and power and money that made the world turn, and she could never unsee it. Rachel's jobs had held her position, told they understood family emergencies, that she could return when ready. Her grandmother's medical bills disappeared, paid in full. A letter from the hospital saying an anonymous donor had covered everything, and a packet arrived from NYU, nursing program, full scholarship. Tuition, books, living expenses. 4 years covered completely. Rachel stared at the papers, unable to believe they were real. Dante found her on the porch, papers in her lap. You did this. I told you I would. This is too much. It's what you earned, what you deserve. Rachel looked up at him. I killed someone for you. No, Dante sat beside her. You saved someone. There's a difference, is there? Yes. Victor would have killed me, killed others. You stopped him. That's not murder. That's protection. The law might not see it that way. The law will never know, Dante's voice was certain. I made sure of it. They sat together, the autumn air growing colder. November turning to December. I think, Rachel started. Stopped. Started again. I think I need to go back. To my apartment, my jobs, my life. I understand. But I also think, she turned to face him, I think I want to stay connected to you, to this, whatever this is. Dante studied her face. You're sure no? But I'm sure I want to try. He smiled, genuine. The first truly open expression she'd seen from him. All right, then here's what we do. You go back to your life, work your jobs, start nursing school in January, live normal. And you, I'll be around, not always visible, but there. Why? Because, Dante's voice was soft, because you're important to me. Because when I'm around you, I remember there's more to life than violence and power. Because you make me want to be better. Rachel's breath caught. This was not a declaration of love. Dante Moretti was not a man who spoke in flowery words or grand gestures, but it was honest, real, more meaningful than any romance novel confession. I don't know if I can be what you need, she said quietly. I don't need you to be anything. Just be yourself. That's enough. They sat in comfortable silence, two people from different worlds who had collided in violence and found something unexpected. Not love, not yet, but possibility, connection, hope. 3 days later, Rachel and her grandmother moved back to their apartment. It felt smaller than she remembered, cramped, but also safe, familiar. Rachel returned to work. Belafonte first. Julian welcomed her back with unusual warmth. We heard about your grandmother's health crisis. I'm glad she's recovering. Thank you. And Rachel. Julian's voice dropped. Thank you for that night, with Mr. Moretti, for your discretion. Rachel said nothing, just nodded. Some things were better left unspoken. Miguel hugged her. Tight, unexpected. I was worried. You disappeared so suddenly. Family emergency. But I'm back now. Good. The place isn't the same without you. Life resumed its rhythm. Tables to serve, orders to take, tips to count. But Rachel wasn't the same. Couldn't be. She saw violence in shadows now. Noticed exits everywhere she went. Watched for threats that probably didn't exist. And at night she dreamed of wine glasses, in warehouses, and blood on concrete. But she also felt alive, present, visible in ways she'd never been before. 2 weeks after returning, Rachel received a text. Unknown number. But she knew who it was. Coffee tomorrow, 10 a.m., the place on Amsterdam and 79th. She typed back, yes. The next morning, Rachel walked into the coffee shop, found Dante at a corner table. Back to the wall, view of the door. Some habits never changed. He stood when she approached, pulled out her chair. They ordered. Black coffee for both. No sugar, no cream. How are you? Dante asked. Adjusting. You same. They talked. Small things. Her grandmother's health, his business transitions, Olivia's recovery from her injuries. Normal conversation, like normal people. Except they weren't normal. Would never be normal again. As they were leaving, Dante stopped her. Rachel, there's something you should know. What, the money for nursing school? The medical bills? That's not a debt, not something you have to repay, I know. I'm saying it because I don't want you to feel obligated. To me, to any of this. You're free, completely free. Rachel looked at him. This dangerous man, this person who lived in shadows, who had killed, who would kill again if necessary. And she saw someone trying to be better, trying to find redemption in a world that offered none. I know I'm free, but I choose to be here, choose to stay connected. That's not obligation. That's choice, Dante smiled. Okay then. They parted outside the coffee shop, going separate ways, separate worlds, but not separate lives. Not anymore. 6 months later, Rachel walked across the stage. White coat ceremony, NYU nursing program, officially a student. In the audience, her grandmother sat, tears of pride streaming down her face. And in the back row, barely visible, Dante Moretti watched. He didn't approach after, didn't make himself known, just witnessed, acknowledged, honored her achievement. Rachel saw him. Their eyes met across the crowd. She nodded, thank you. He nodded back, you earned it. Then he was gone, disappeared into the city. But his absence felt different than invisibility. It felt like space, room to grow, permission to become. Rachel returned to her life, classes, work, caring for her grandmother. But once a month she met Dante for coffee. They talked, shared pieces of their lives, built something neither could quite name. Not friendship, not romance, something else. Partnership maybe, understanding, respect. Two people who had seen each other at their worst and chosen to see the best. 1 year after that night at Belafonte, Rachel finished her first semester of nursing school. Top of her class, clinic rotations starting in January. She stood in their apartment, small, cramped, but paid in full. No more rent stress, no more medical debt. Her grandmother was sleeping, breathing easier with new medications, new treatments, hope for more years together. Rachel's phone buzzed, text from Dante. Proud of you, she smiled, typed back. Thank you for everything. His response came immediately. You did this, not me. All I did was remove obstacles. You did the work. Rachel looked out the window, at the Manhattan skyline, at the city that had almost broken her, that had tested her, that had revealed who she really was. She had started as a waitress, invisible, working multiple jobs, barely surviving. Now she was a nursing student, seen, present, building a future. The transformation hadn't been easy, had cost her innocence, peace, the luxury of not knowing what violence really looked like. But it had given her something too, purpose, strength, the knowledge that she could face darkness and not be consumed. Her phone buzzed again. Dinner next week. Same place, she typed. Yes, but I'm buying. Deal. Rachel set down her phone, looked at her grandmother sleeping peacefully, at her textbooks stacked on the table, at the life she was building. She had been invisible for so long, had perfected the art of being unseen. But one split-second decision, one moment of courage, one spilled glass of water, that had changed everything. Rachel Morrison had saved a life, and in doing so had saved her own. Not from death, but from invisibility, from a life half-lived, from the prison of playing small. She was seen now, present, significant, and she would never be invisible again. The city hummed outside her window, millions of lives intersecting, diverging, colliding, and Rachel Morrison, once a waitress who noticed everything but was noticed by no one, had become someone who mattered, not because of who she knew, not because of who she'd saved, but because she had chosen courage over safety, action over passivity, visibility over hiding. In the end, that was the only choice that mattered, the choice to be seen. End.